Welcome back to another episode of the English Hour. I'm Sophia, and today we have an exciting topic that so many of you have requested: how to learn English quickly. And of course, I'm joined again by our wonderful guest, Jacob. Hi, Jacob.
Hi, Sophia. I'm really excited to be back. This is a topic that's close to my heart. I've worked with a lot of English learners over the years, and I've seen firsthand what works and what doesn't. So I'm ready to dive into this.
That's perfect because I know our listeners are always looking for the most effective ways to improve their English, especially when they don't have much time. So, Jacob, let's start with the basics. What's the number one thing you tell people who want to learn English fast?
Honestly, the first thing I tell them is immersion. It's one of the fastest ways to pick up a language. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. That doesn't mean moving to an English-speaking country. It means listening, reading, watching, and even thinking in English every day.
I love that you said, thinking in English. That's something we don't hear often, but it's such a powerful practice. When your internal dialogue starts happening in English, it shows real progress.
Exactly. When people start translating everything from their native language, it slows them down. But if you can train your brain to switch to English, even for small thoughts like, I need to eat, or what's the weather like, it becomes a natural part of your thinking process.
That makes so much sense. And it's free. You can do that anywhere. I also tell learners to narrate their day in English, even if it's just in their head. Like, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm getting dressed. I'm making coffee. It helps reinforce vocabulary.
Yes, narration is a great method. It forces your brain to actively use words and structure sentences. It's like talking to yourself in a productive way. Another tip I give is to set specific goals. Don't just say, I want to learn English. Say, I want to be able to order food in English. Or, I want to understand English movies without subtitles.
Goals make a huge difference. When learners have a clear purpose, they stay more motivated. And speaking of motivation, Jacob, how do you keep learners from getting discouraged when progress feels slow?
Great question. I always tell people to measure their progress by consistency, not perfection. If you're practicing a little every day, you're doing great. Even 15 minutes of focused English time daily can lead to big improvements over time.
That's such a relief for people to hear, especially those with busy schedules. It's not about hours and hours every day, it's about consistency. And 15 minutes is doable for almost anyone.
Exactly. And you can even split it up. Listen to a podcast while walking, read for 5 minutes during lunch, and practice speaking out loud before bed. All those little moments add up.
I completely agree. And let's talk about speaking for a moment. A lot of learners say they're shy or don't have anyone to practice with. What do you suggest in that case?
That's very common. The first step is to start speaking out loud to yourself. You can read aloud, repeat phrases from shows, or answer imaginary interview questions. It builds your confidence. And then, once you're ready, find a language partner online. There are apps and websites that can connect learners with native speakers or other learners.
That's such a smart idea. And for shy learners, even recording themselves speaking can help. It's scary at first, but when you listen back, you can hear your progress, and that's motivating.
Absolutely. Recording yourself is a fantastic way to practice pronunciation and fluency. You become your own coach in a way. You can notice areas where you pause or mispronounce something and improve from there.
Speaking of pronunciation, what's your advice for improving that? Some learners get stuck on trying to sound perfect.
Yeah, that's a trap. I always tell them clarity is more important than sounding like a native speaker. Focus on being understood. That said, shadowing is a great technique for pronunciation. You listen to a sentence from a native speaker and repeat it exactly, mimicking their rhythm and tone.
Shadowing is so powerful. It's like music practice. You repeat until it feels natural. I used to do that with podcasts and even movie lines. It really helps with intonation and flow.
Yes, and it trains your ear too, so you start noticing patterns in spoken English. The more you shadow, the more natural your speech becomes. And here's another tip: sing songs in English. It's fun, it helps with pronunciation, and it sticks in your memory.
Oh, I love that one. Singing is such a great way to internalize phrases and pronunciation. Plus, it makes learning enjoyable. If you're having fun, you're more likely to stick with it.
Exactly, Sophia. Enjoyment is underrated in language learning. People often treat English like a serious subject in school, but it can actually be a fun part of your daily routine. Watch shows you like, read articles about topics you're passionate about, or follow English speaking YouTubers that entertain you.
That's so true. If you're forcing yourself to read something boring, your brain won't absorb it as well. But if you're watching something you enjoy, like a travel vlog or even a comedy sketch, you're picking up new vocabulary effortlessly.
And speaking of vocabulary, let's talk about how to expand it quickly. A lot of learners try to memorize long lists of words, but that doesn't usually work well.
Right, I've seen that too. People memorize 50 words a day, but then forget most of them. I always suggest learning vocabulary in context. Like, instead of learning just the word, run, learn it in a sentence. I run every morning to stay fit.
Exactly. Context helps you remember and use the word correctly. I also recommend creating a word bank or phrase journal. Every time you come across a new word or phrase, write it down with an example sentence and try using it in your own sentence.
I love that idea. And reviewing that journal regularly reinforces what you've learned. Some people even draw little doodles next to the words to help them remember better.
Visual memory is powerful. The more you engage your senses, the faster you'll remember things. And don't forget spaced repetition. Using flashcards apps like Anki or Quizlet can help you review words at just the right intervals.
That's one of my favorite methods. Those apps are like smart memory coaches. They know exactly when you're about to forget something and bring it back for review.
Yes, and the cool thing is, you can make your own flashcards based on what you're learning, whether it's from a podcast episode, a book, or a movie.
So many tools are out there now. Back when we were younger, it was just textbooks and maybe a cassette tape. Now learners have access to YouTube, podcasts, audiobooks, and apps.
And speaking of podcasts, they're one of the best tools for learning English fast. You get to hear real conversations, natural pronunciation, and sentence flow. It's like having free language lessons every day.
That's what we aim to do here on the English Hour. Real conversations, real language, and lots of exposure for learners. And our listeners can even pause, rewind, and shadow our sentences.
Exactly. I also encourage learners to mix active and passive listening. Sometimes you listen carefully and repeat. Other times, you just let the language flow into your ears while you clean or walk. Both methods are helpful.
That's such a great tip. Active listening helps you focus on detail. Passive listening helps with overall rhythm and comfort. And when you combine both, you're training your brain to understand English faster.
Definitely. And don't forget reading. A lot of learners focus only on listening and speaking, but reading boosts vocabulary and grammar understanding in a big way.
Yes, and you don't have to read Shakespeare. Even simple blogs, children's books, or English news articles are great for building up reading fluency.
Exactly. Start small. If you're just beginning, read graded readers' books designed for learners. As you grow, level up to novels or nonfiction in topics you love.
And rereading is okay too. Sometimes learners feel like they should always be reading new material. But reading the same article or story again actually strengthens understanding.
100% you notice new things on the second or third read. It's like watching a movie again, you catch details you missed the first time.
So let's recap a little for our listeners. We've talked about immersion, thinking in English, goal setting, consistency, and using tools like podcasts, reading, and flashcards.
And don't forget speaking practice, shadowing, singing songs, and journaling new words. All of these together create a full language experience.
I think our listeners are writing notes furiously right now. So many practical ideas. But Jacob, let's go deeper into one specific area: grammar. What's your advice on learning grammar quickly? but effectively?
Great question. I always tell learners don't start by memorizing grammar rules. Instead, focus on usage. Learn grammar through examples and practice. Like instead of learning past perfect, had plus past participle, focus on real sentences like, I had finished dinner before she arrived.
Yes, that's how native speakers learn their first language, by hearing it used correctly again and again. Then it becomes natural.
Exactly. And once you hear patterns, you can start asking why those patterns work the way they do. That's when grammar rules can help you explain what you already hear and say,
I love that you said that. Grammar should support your learning, not stop you from speaking, until everything is perfect.
right. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Make mistakes, learn from them, and keep going. That's the real way to improve fast.
That's such an important reminder. Perfection is the enemy of progress. I think a lot of learners hesitate to speak because they're afraid of making mistakes. But mistakes are how we grow.
Absolutely. I always tell students that making a mistake is actually a win. It shows that you're trying and gives you a chance to learn something new. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner making the same kinds of errors.
That's true for me too. I used to say things like, he go to school every day. Before I learned it should be, he goes. But I kept speaking, and eventually, it became automatic.
Exactly. You learn through repetition and feedback. And one powerful method is to record yourself speaking English and then listen back. It might feel awkward at first, but it helps you hear your own pronunciation, grammar, and fluency.
I love that tip. When you record yourself, you can notice your habits, good or bad. Maybe you're always forgetting articles, or maybe you're using a phrase really well. It's all useful feedback.
Yes, and another benefit is confidence. The more you hear yourself speaking English, the more natural it feels. You start thinking, hey, I actually sound pretty good.
Speaking of sounding good, pronunciation is another big area. What do you think helps learners improve their pronunciation quickly?
Great question. First, listening is key. If you want to pronounce English well, you have to hear a lot of natural English podcasts, audiobooks, movies. Focus on how words are connected in real speech.
That's a big one, connected speech. Like how, what are you doing? Sounds like, what you doin', in casual conversation. If learners expect every word to be clear and separate, they'll get confused.
Exactly. And practicing with shadowing helps here. You choose a sentence, listen to it a few times, then repeat it exactly, trying to copy the rhythm, stress, and intonation.
It's like karaoke for English. You mimic the speaker's voice like an actor. It's super effective.
Totally. And you don't have to do it for hours, just 10 minutes a day of shadowing can bring noticeable results within a few weeks.
That's encouraging. A lot of learners think they need to study for hours a day, but actually, consistency is more important than quantity.
Exactly. 20 minutes every day beats 2 hours once a week. It's all about building habits.
And building those habits starts with choosing the right resources. Let's talk about that. What kind of materials do you recommend for fast learners?
It depends on their level and interests. For beginners, I'd say use content with subtitles and slower speech, like English learning YouTube channels, children's shows, or beginner podcasts. For intermediate and advanced learners, switch to real-life content, interviews, documentaries, vlogs.
And what about books?
Definitely. Start with graded readers, then move to young adult novels, and later to mainstream books. Choose something you actually enjoy, that's the key. If you're bored, you won't stick with it.
I completely agree. And what about apps? Are there any that really speed up learning?
Oh yes, apps like Duolingo can be good for beginners, but for serious learning, I recommend combining multiple tools. Use Anki or Quizlet for flashcards, BBC Learning English for listening, Grammarly for writing, and HelloTalk for speaking to native speakers.
That's a nice toolbox. And speaking of HelloTalk, that's a language exchange app, right?
Yes. You connect with native English speakers who want to learn your language, and you help each other. It's a free and natural way to practice real conversation.
That's brilliant. It removes the fear of talking to strangers, because both sides are learners helping each other.
Exactly. And if you're shy, you can start with texting and later move to voice messages or calls.
So many options now. There's really no excuse not to find a method that works for you.
I totally agree. And here's something learners often overlook using English in your personal life. Label things in your room with English words. Write your to-do list in English. Even talk to yourself in English while cooking.
That's such a creative strategy. It keeps English alive in your environment, even when you're not actively studying.
Yes, it becomes a lifestyle rather than just a subject. And that's how people learn quickly. They surround themselves with English.
I love that mindset. Make English part of your world, then it doesn't feel like hard work anymore.
Exactly. And let's talk about speaking clubs or online groups. These are gold for fast learning. You join a group, meet weekly, and just talk. No pressure, just practice.
That's such a good idea. And with Zoom, Discord, and other platforms, you can join groups from all over the world.
Right? You meet people from different countries, learn different accents, and share ideas. It's motivating and fun.
I've seen learners go from zero to fluent in a year, just because they were speaking regularly in those groups.
It's the power of practice. English isn't just knowledge, it's a skill. And skills improve with use.
That's such a great reminder. English is a skill, not just a subject. You don't learn to swim by reading about it. You have to jump into the water.
Exactly. And that jumping in moment is different for everyone. For some, it's joining a speaking group. For others, it might be recording a video diary in English or starting a blog.
A blog in English, that's a fantastic idea. Writing regularly in English, even a few sentences a day, can help learners express their thoughts and improve their grammar naturally.
Yes, and it also builds confidence. When you see how much you can say or write after just a few weeks, it's a huge motivator to keep going.
Speaking of motivation, what do you think helps learners stay consistent, especially when they're not seeing fast results?
That's a big one. Progress in language learning isn't always linear, so people can get discouraged. I usually recommend setting small, daily goals. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent in 6 months, say, I'll watch 10 minutes of English video today, or I'll learn 5 new words.
Small wins lead to big results. I've seen that with fitness and health, and it totally applies to learning English too.
Exactly. And celebrate those wins. Did you understand a podcast today? Celebrate that. Did you speak for 3 minutes without stopping? That's huge.
I love that energy. Learners need to be their own cheerleaders sometimes.
Definitely. And tracking your progress helps too. Keep a language journal, write what you learned, what you struggled with, and what made you smile during practice. It gives you perspective over time.
That's such a great habit. I wish I had done that when I was learning languages. Even writing down your favorite new word of the day can be fun.
Yes. And speaking of words, let's talk about vocabulary because that's one area learners always ask about. How to grow vocabulary quickly and remember it long term.
Oh yes, that's a big one. I used to learn lists of words, but I'd forget them after a few days.
That's because context is key. Don't just memorize a word, see it, hear it, use it. If you learn the word curious, watch how it's used in a movie, read it in a sentence, and then use it in your own conversation.
So it's about seeing the word in action. That way your brain makes connections, instead of just storing a random definition.
Exactly. And using flashcards like Anki helps too, especially with spaced repetition. It reminds you of the word just before you're about to forget it.
That's genius. You're fighting forgetting with science.
Yep, and another trick: group words by theme. Learn all the words related to cooking one week, then switch to travel the next week. That way your brain stores them in categories, which helps with recall.
That's a smart approach. Also, learning phrases instead of just single words can speed things up too, right?
Instead of learning the word opinion, learn the phrase in my opinion, or I'm of the opinion that. These chunks are the building blocks of fluent speech.
That's how natives speak, using phrases, not individual words. It makes your English sound smoother and more natural.
Exactly. And when you use those chunks regularly, you don't have to think about grammar as much because the grammar is already built into the phrase.
That's such a time saver, less thinking, more speaking.
Right. And speaking of saving time, let's bust a myth. People often say you need to go abroad to learn English fast. True or false?
Ooh, I'd say false. I know people who've never left their country and speak better English than some people who've lived abroad for years.
Spot on. It's not about geography, it's about environment and effort. If you create an English-rich environment at home, you can learn just as fast.
Like changing your phone's language to English, watching Netflix with English subtitles, listening to English music, those little changes add up.
Exactly. You start living in English without even realizing it. It becomes the background of your life.
And the brain adapts. It's like training a muscle, you give it a challenge, and it gets stronger.
I love that analogy. The more you expose your brain to English, the faster it rewires itself for fluency.
That's actually so exciting. Learning a language is like building a superpower.
Totally. It opens doors to new cultures, new jobs, new friends. The benefits go way beyond just speaking another language.
And let's not forget it's fun. Watching a comedy show in English, understanding jokes, singing along to your favorite English songs, that's joy.
Yes, if you're not having fun while learning, something needs to change. Find content you love, people you enjoy talking to, and activities that feel like play.
That's the golden rule. Language learning should be enjoyable. That's how it sticks.
Couldn't agree more. Enjoyment fuels consistency, and consistency creates results.
Jacob, you mentioned grammar earlier, let's dive into that a bit. So many learners are scared of grammar rules. Do you think grammar should be the first priority?
Honestly, no. In the beginning, the focus should be on communication and exposure. Grammar is important, but obsessing over it early can slow learners down and build fear.
That's so true. I've seen learners stop speaking just because they were unsure if their sentence was grammatically perfect.
Exactly, and the irony is we learn grammar faster through use. When you hear, "I have been working all day," in a movie 10 times, the structure becomes familiar even before you know the tense name.
So true. It's like absorbing it without realizing. And when you finally learn the grammar rule, it just clicks because you've already heard it in action.
Right? Call it grammar through input. You see it, hear it, use it, and then understand the rule. Much more natural than memorizing a textbook.
What about for intermediate learners though? Should they dive into grammar more?
Yes, at that stage it's helpful. Understanding things like conditionals, passive voice, or reported speech can really elevate your accuracy. But even then, learn it in context, not in isolation.
I love that balance. Use first, rules later. Now, let's switch gears to pronunciation and accent. This is such a sensitive topic for many learners.
Oh yes, and the first thing I tell them, having an accent is okay. It's natural. Everyone has one, even native speakers.
That's so reassuring. The goal isn't to sound like a robot or copy one specific accent. It's to be clear and confident, right?
Exactly, clarity is the key. Work on pronunciation, stress, and rhythm so others understand you. But your accent is part of your identity, it tells a story.
I love that perspective. What's a good way to improve pronunciation naturally?
Shadowing is my favorite technique. You pick a short audio clip, maybe from a podcast, movie, or a YouTube video, and repeat exactly what the speaker says, matching their tone, rhythm, and intonation.
Like becoming their echo.
Yes, do it with subtitles first, then try without them. It trains your mouth and ear together. It's like mimicking music, you get the flow of English.
That sounds fun too. You could do it with your favorite movie scenes or song lyrics.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to record yourself. It feels weird at first, but it helps you hear your own speech and make corrections.
I used to do that when I learned French. I'd record a sentence, then compare it to a native speaker, and repeat until it sounded closer.
Perfect strategy, and when you do it consistently, your brain starts to catch pronunciation mistakes even while you're speaking.
That's when the magic happens, when you self-correct on the go without even thinking.
Exactly. And one more tippy mouth training. Practice difficult sounds slowly and clearly. For example, the sound and think, or this can be tricky. Do it slowly first, then speed up.
That's such a good idea. It's like muscle memory for speaking.
Totally. English has sounds that don't exist in every language, so it takes time and patience, but it's so worth it.
I agree. Now let's touch on English exams like IELTS, TOEFL, or Duolingo English test. Many learners are preparing for these and want to know how to prepare faster.
Great point. First of all, learn the format. Know what each part of the test includes, how long it takes, and what the scoring system is.
Yes, being familiar with the test format removes half the stress already.
Right? Then do lots of practice tests. Not just to improve your skills, but to build your test stamina. These exams are long and tiring.
I've heard that from so many students. They say their brain gets tired halfway through.
That's normal. So simulate test conditions, sit for a full 2-hour or 3-hour session, and practice without breaks. It trains your mind and focus.
What about specific tips for the speaking section?
Speak clearly, stay on topic, and expand your answers. Don't give one-word responses. If they ask, "What's your favorite food?" don't just say, "Pizza." Say, "My favorite food is pizza because I love the cheesy texture and the variety of toppings. I often eat it with my family on weekends."
That's such a clear difference. The second version shows fluency, vocabulary, and confidence.
Exactly. And for writing, use templates for structure, especially for essays. Introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. Practice organizing your thoughts clearly.
That helps with timing too. You don't get stuck wondering what to write next.
Yes. And for listening and reading, the biggest tip is exposure. The more English you consume daily, the better you get at picking up keywords, understanding context, and predicting answers.
So everything we talked about, movies, podcasts, daily practice, also prepares you for these exams naturally.
Absolutely. If you make English part of your life, the exams just become another way to prove what you already know.
That's the mindset shift. Don't study English only for a test. Learn it as a life skill.
Well said. And here's a bonus tip: don't wait to be perfect before using English. Use it now. Mistakes are part of growth.
I couldn't agree more. If you wait until you're fluent, you'll never speak. Speak to become fluent.
Exactly. Progress happens when you act, not when you wait.
I love where this is going, Jacob. Let's talk about learning styles now. Some people are visual learners, others auditory, and some kinesthetic. How does this affect English learning?
That's a great point, Sophia. Everyone processes information differently. A visual learner might prefer watching videos with subtitles, using flashcards, or reading. Auditory learners might learn best by listening to podcasts or repeating after audio.
And for kinesthetic learners, those who learn by doing, what would you suggest?
For them, active involvement works best. That could be speaking out loud, acting out dialogues, writing English journals, or even teaching what they've learned to someone else.
So the key is to find out what method feels natural and enjoyable, and then build a habit around it.
Exactly, and don't be afraid to mix styles. I'm a big believer in multimodal learning, using a mix of listening, speaking, reading, and writing every day.
That makes so much sense. It keeps the brain engaged in different ways too.
Totally. And another thing, your learning environment matters. If you're distracted or uncomfortable, your brain won't absorb much. Create a dedicated space or schedule for your English time, even if it's just 15 minutes a day.
I love that idea. A cozy corner with a notebook, a podcast ready to go, and maybe a cup of tea that could become someone's English zone.
Yes, making it a ritual helps your brain get into English mode. And consistency matters more than intensity. It's better to study 20 minutes every day than 3 hours once a week.
That's such a powerful truth. Daily contact with English builds momentum, and you stay connected to the language emotionally too.
Definitely. And speaking of emotional connection, motivation is everything. Learners should find personal reasons for learning English. Is it to travel, get a better job, watch movies without subtitles, make international friends?
When your why is strong, you keep going even on hard days.
Exactly. And it also helps if you celebrate small wins. Maybe you understood a YouTube video without subtitles today, or you held a 5-minute conversation. That's progress.
Yes, rewarding those moments fuels long-term growth. I also love using progress trackers like checking off daily practice, vocabulary logs, or recording weekly speaking samples.
Those are great ideas. Tracking your journey shows you how far you've come, and it keeps your motivation alive. Even a voice diary works. Record yourself once a week and compare it month by month.
That's brilliant. It's like watching your English grow in real time. Now let's shift a little. What about English for career growth? How does someone prepare to use English professionally?
Excellent question. First, identify the kind of English you need for your job. Is it writing emails, speaking in meetings, giving presentations, handling phone calls?
So the context matters a lot.
Absolutely. Then practice that specific English. For example, if you're a customer support rep, practice phone conversations. If you're in tech, read tech blogs or write reports in English.
Tailoring your English to your career field makes it practical and immediately useful.
Yes, and you can build a vocabulary bank related to your job. Learn the words and phrases that come up often in your work.
Like a personal word list.
Exactly. And use tools like Grammarly or Quillbot to polish emails or reports. These help with formal writing until you feel confident doing it yourself.
What about job interviews or LinkedIn profiles in English?
Great point. Practice common interview questions in English and prepare strong answers. Also, write a short but powerful elevator pitch, introducing who you are and what you do. That's useful everywhere.
And for LinkedIn, I suppose having a professional summary and engaging with posts in English helps build confidence too.
Yes, and it puts you on the radar of global opportunities. Every comment, every post you write is practice, and it builds your visibility at the same time.
That's a double win. Okay, let's get a bit more inspirational. Do you have any stories of real learners who learned English quickly or overcame big challenges?
I do. One student from Brazil started learning English during the pandemic with zero background. She watched one Netflix series in English every week, used Duolingo for fun, and joined weekly speaking clubs online.
Wow, that's an immersive routine.
Within a year, she was confident enough to join Zoom calls with international teams. Her secret: she didn't aim for perfection, she aimed for progress.
That's powerful. Progress over perfection. I hope listeners write that down.
Another example is a man from India who needed English for a promotion. He practiced one interview question every day by speaking into his phone camera. After 2 months, he cracked the interview and now leads a global team.
That's amazing. Just goes to show daily practice, even in small steps, creates big results.
Exactly. Consistency, belief in yourself, and exposure to real English, that's the winning formula.
I'm so inspired by these stories. Learning English quickly is possible when your methods are smart and your mindset is strong.
Absolutely. Anyone listening today can start where they are with what they have and move forward from there.
Let's keep going, Jacob. I'd love to dive deeper into cultural immersion. How does understanding culture help with learning English quickly?
Oh, it helps a lot, Sophia. Language and culture go hand in hand. When learners start to understand the culture behind the language, they pick up not just vocabulary, but the meaning and tone behind phrases.
Can you give an example?
Sure, take the phrase, "How's it going?" In American English, it's just a casual way of saying hello, not a real question about your life. But learners might try to explain their day.
Right, that's such a common moment. Cultural understanding helps avoid those little confusions.
Exactly. And watching sitcoms, reality shows, or even TikToks gives learners exposure to real, natural conversations, including humor, slang, gestures, and emotions.
I also find that songs and movies help people feel the emotional side of English. It's not just grammar, it's heart and story too.
Well said, Sophia. When learners connect emotionally, the language sticks better. If a song moves you, you'll remember its lyrics forever.
That's so true. I still remember English songs I heard when I was young. What about food, customs, or celebrations? Do you think exploring those can help too?
Definitely. Reading about holidays like Thanksgiving, Halloween, or even typical work days in English-speaking countries gives context to the words you learn. It makes English feel real, not just academic.
I love that. It becomes more than just a school subject, it becomes part of your life.
Yes. Learners should look for ways to live in English. Even if they're not in an English-speaking country, they can bring the culture into their daily routine.
That's such great advice. Okay, shifting gears again, what do you think about Q&A style learning? Like asking yourself a question every day and answering it out loud.
I'm a huge fan of that. It's one of the best ways to think in English. Simple questions like, what did I do today? Or, what's my favorite food and why? Get your brain used to forming sentences naturally.
And it's low pressure, right? You don't need anyone else, you can practice alone.
Exactly. Learners can record themselves too and listen back. It helps with pronunciation, fluency, and confidence.
And you can even turn that into a journaling habit. Writing your answers down adds another layer of practice.
Yes, and for more advanced learners, they can challenge themselves with what if questions. Like, what if I won the lottery? Or, what would I do if I were the president?
I love that. It sparks creativity and language development at the same time.
And here's another twist: have learners create their own mini English podcasts, just 5 minutes a day where they talk about something they love.
That's brilliant. Like becoming your own teacher and student.
Yes, it's empowering. And when learners listen to their old recordings weeks later, they'll see how much they've improved.
That kind of visible progress is so motivating. It reminds you that your efforts are paying off.
Exactly. Language learning is a journey, and tracking your steps makes it even more rewarding.
Speaking of the journey, what advice do you have for learners who feel stuck or plateaued?
Great question. First, I'd say don't panic. Plateaus are part of learning. They usually mean your brain is processing what you've already learned.
So even if it feels slow, your brain is still working behind the scenes.
Yes, totally. During these times, it helps to shake things up. Try a new learning app, change your routine, or join a new speaking group.
Like adding some freshness to reignite motivation.
Exactly. And sometimes learners just need a short break to recharge. A few days off can bring back energy and clarity.
That's reassuring. Language learning doesn't have to be stressful, it can be joyful and flexible too.
Yes, and the final tip I'd give for plateaus: teach someone else. Even if it's just explaining a word to a friend or a sibling. Teaching deepens your own understanding.
I couldn't agree more. It's a beautiful full circle. You learn, and then you help someone else learn too.
That's the magic of language, it connects people. And English, being global, opens so many doors to those connections.
Absolutely. Whether it's making friends, exploring content, or growing your career, English is a key that unlocks so many possibilities.
And with the right tools, mindset, and support, anyone can master it. Step by step, word by word.
I hope everyone listening right now feels that encouragement. You can do it, and this podcast is here to help you every step of the way. Before we wrap up, Jacob, let's do a quick summary for our listeners. What would you say are the top 5 ways to learn English quickly?
Great idea. Here we go. Number 1, practice speaking every day, even if it's just with yourself. Number 2, surround yourself with English TV, books, podcasts. Number 3, focus on real conversations, not just textbook grammar. Number 4, write and record yourself to track your progress. And number 5, stay consistent, have fun, and don't be afraid of mistakes.
That's a solid list. And I especially love how you mentioned have fun. Learning doesn't have to be boring.
Exactly, the more you enjoy it, the faster you learn. English can be your friend, not your fear.
That's such a nice way to put it. And to all our listeners, remember, every word you learn brings you one step closer to fluency.
And you're never alone on this journey. Millions of people are learning just like you, and channels like the English Hour are here to guide you.
Thank you so much, Jacob, for joining us today. Your insights are always inspiring and super practical.
Thank you, Sophia. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I hope our conversation helps a lot of learners out there.
And to everyone listening, keep practicing, stay curious, and speak your heart in English. Until next time, Stay motivated, stay learning. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the English Hour.